Hi, this is Pastor Robert Cook from my basement here. I'm the pastor of the Greencastle Presbyterian Church in Greencastle, Pennsylvania. And we've been doing a daily Advent meditation through the Advent season. And today is Wednesday, the 20th of December, here in 2023. In 1943, a fellow by the name of Philip Stern wrote a story called The Greatest Gift. He tried publishing it, didn't work. He got about 200 self-published copies, gave them out to friends and family. One of those booklets made themselves available to a Hollywood producer. And the name of the project was changed from The Greatest Gift to It's a Wonderful Life. It also was published in the Good Housekeeping magazine under the title The Man Who Was Never Born. And you know the story, you'll probably see it this week or this weekend, about George Bailey, who was rescued by a kind of not so great, not so smart, but very sincere angel named Clarence. And in an effort to earn his wings, Clarence shows George the terrible things that would have befallen Bedford Falls and the people around there had he never been born. And so, of course, the movie ends with George was born, and George made a tremendous difference in the life of people from Bedford Falls. And old Mr. Potter, well, the bank examiners probably showed up at his door the day after Christmas. Well, let me ask this question. What if Jesus had never been born? You could start thinking about right away, what would have happened if there were no nativity? Well, for one thing, we would have hospitals, universities, civil liberties, modern science, Declaration of Independence and the language in it, abolition, slavery would be carried on, um, free enterprise, separation of political powers, charity organizations, sanctity of life, the elevation of women, the space program, the Hubble and the James Webb telescope would never been invented, never placed out there in space. There'd be so many, many more things you could just think about that. You could spend days thinking about that. And were it not for the birth of Jesus, there would have been no cross. And if there was no cross, there would have been no life-changing, world-changing gospel. So the birth of Jesus really is the dawn of human hope for everyone. Now, here's a few things to consider. Also, had Jesus not been born, evil reigned back in the day, no checks and balances. Evil, given full reign, tends to destroy itself. That would have happened sooner or later. Rulers would only get more emboldened to be more cruel in each passing generation. Life for the average person would be a nightmare. I know people do ask, how come evil things happen in this world? Maybe a better question is, why is it more evil things don't happen in our world? And I think that the answer is fairly straightforward. And that's because of Jesus. Jesus is the reason that more bad things don't happen. Now, I know that there's a lot of stuff that has gone on in these 2,000 years in the church and politics and war and all that stuff. And I'm not going to excuse any of that. Human beings are difficult. Our nature is effaced from the way we were created to be. But Jesus took on the darkness of this world for us. His trust in the love of God, his willingness to take on the powers of death and darkness to the point of his own death. That's the only reason we're not living out that nightmare today. I know that in Romans 5:6 there's a verse that says, you see, just at the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. Jesus literally was born to die for you, for me, for all of us. Now you could think about the many things that are because Jesus was born. Well, because Jesus is born, we know that God is love. Because Jesus is born, the earth will never become evil's kingdom, nor will we be evil slaves. Because Jesus was born, we have new life. Because Jesus was born, we have peace with God and we have peace with one another. Because Jesus was born, compassion moves the human heart to act in mercy and kindness and love. Because Jesus was born, this old world and the way that we live now will pass away, and the world will become God's kingdom. Evil will be no more. We pray this when we pray the Lord's Prayer. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. We pray for that day. And because Jesus was born, there is victory over the grave. Every one of us have stood at the graveside. And every one of us have stood there with hope now because of Jesus. So when you think about it, God entrusted this message really just a few people, not that many. So just in the Gospel of Luke, Zechariah and Elizabeth, it was Mary and Joseph, just a handful of shepherds and magi, 12 rough fishermen and peasants. And imagine if they said no. Well, that would take you all day to think about too. Wouldn't be a good thought. But they said yes to God. And so the story goes on. I like to think about how God entrusted me with this message and how God entrusted you with this message. What would have happened if we kept it to ourselves? What would become of our children, our youth, our young adults? I think about the church that I've been so blessed to be a part of in Greencastle, and if that building was not there on that corner of Baltimore Street and Jefferson, and what would this little community of Greencastle lack? Well, a whole lot, because this church does make quite an impact. Even now, this time tonight, as I'm recording this, our food pantry is giving out all kinds of food. As of last week, we had fed 138 families, and I wouldn't doubt we'll probably add another 60 to 80 to that tonight because people believe the message. So Jesus came and he got his hands dirty for you. We can do that much for him. Have a wonderful evening. And I pray that the next couple of days you're getting not just your house ready and presents ready, but your heart ready. Because then it really is Christmas. God bless and have a good night.